How do children come into the world? I guess you have some kind of an idea, right? It has fascinated me since I was a little kid. I had no idea how it happens. And I heard all the stories about the storks and the cabbage leaves, and I got all kinds of explanations like mom and dad kiss, or mom and dad lie naked in bed. And I knew there was something missing, something important. So as a teenager, I decided to get to the bottom of it, if you know what I mean. But even after many years of perfecting my techniques, some questions still remained unanswered. Many have researched the wondrous technicalities of birth, and there is endless literature on the subject. But I thought it would be interesting to share with you the patient's perspective, or to be more precise, the perspective of a puzzled male. You see, my wife and I tried to have a baby for 2 years. And it wasn't supposed to be that complicated, but still, didn't work. So we shared our friends with our problems, and they gave us some very fuzzy advice, like eat a lot of greens, or take zinc pills. And we also got plenty of advice from random grandmas. Put whiskey. Where? At home. Put whiskey in your house. What do you mean? Well, spill it on the floor, rub it into something, just hold the bottle? Yes, now sit down and eat. Thank you. I don't know you, but thank you. So we understood that we don't have a lot of time to waste, so we went to see my wife's doctor, who, after hearing a short description of our sexual history, suggested that I do a sperm test. Has anyone here done a sperm test? Yeah, as if someone would raise their hands if they had. Yes, I did. Yes. It's totally cool. So I wouldn't bring it up on a first date. You know? So I learned that the adult man produces 100 million sperm cells a day. It's a wonder we have time to do anything else. And they say we can't multitask. Huh? Yeah. So this adds up to more than 1 trillion sperm cells in an average man's life. And still, despite the impressive output, men are responsible for 40% of infertility problems. Between 5 to 10% of the male population take sperm tests. So I was thinking, how bad can it be? I mean, there is no anesthesia, no needle, doesn't hurt. It's just basically some one-on-one quality time. I'm sure that if you were to stop any man on the street, he probably wouldn't say no. Maybe if it was late for work. But however, as I found out the hard way, it's actually not as sexy as that. I mean, when I got to the hospital clinic, I was greeted by a lady sitting behind a glass window and the words, "Did you bring sperm from home?" No, I said. I had no idea I could do that. So she gave me a sterile plastic cup with a sticker with my name on it, directed me to the restrooms, and told me to come back with the making of a child. I will spare you the details, but I can assure you it was quite challenging, since, just for example, blasting out of the PA system, I could hear, Dr. Feynman, please come to emergency. Dr. Feynman, please, will you hurry up? We're losing him." Not exactly the aphrodisiac I was hoping for. But a man's got to do what a man's got to do. So I returned to the lady and handed her my precious harvest, trying really hard not to make eye contact because it was so embarrassing. I mean, she was, after all, a complete stranger who knew exactly what I've been up to 5 minutes ago. Besides, I thought to myself, I mean, you sit there all day with nothing much to do. You could at least lend a hand. I have premium shield, you know. And besides, how come they haven't invented a machine to do it for us. I mean, there is definitely a market. When the doctor saw the result of my test, his smile disappeared, and he said, "This looks really bad." And he sent me off for some more tests to find out why my sperm looks like placebo. This was no doubt one of the toughest moments in my life. It was like being told that I'm not a real man. I was gripped by fear. Could it be that I will never be able to be a father? That I will never realize my potential? Literally. So I went back home with my wife. We curled under the duvet and we just stayed in bed for the rest of the day. It was really terrible. I felt like a failure. They haven't found out exactly what my problem is, but I was told that my sperm is lazy. How insulting! I mean, what is lazy sperm? No, just pass me. I'm tying my lace. Just go ahead. It's really depressing. And to think of all the money I wasted on condoms. Usually the attempts to enhance the sperm and, by selecting only the good-looking ones and returning them to the womb on ovulation day fail, as it did for us too, 3 times. So the doctor had no choice and we had to start IVF treatments. In vitro fertilization. Has anybody here been through IVF? Oh, really? I'll talk to you later. Is anybody here a result of IVF? It sounded really threatening in the beginning. IVF, dum, dum, dum. But after a short while, we realized it was almost as popular as buttocks. So, just to clue you in, this is how IVF works. Harvested sperm fertilizes the ovule outside the woman's body, in a lab. The fertilized ovule is then returned to the womb, where, if successful, a normal pregnancy develops. IVF technique was first developed in Britain in 1978. And today, around 1% of all the births in the Western world are a result of IVF. In other words, when I asked you, the audience, if you've been through IVF, around 8 people should have raised their hands. IVF is a long process. I mean, the woman is put under anesthesia and the ovules have to be extracted. You can Google it. But one thing is certain. It ain't no picnic. Especially since new tenants came into our lives. Hormones. Let's talk for a moment about that time of the month when our partner are just about to get their period, PMS. Familiar? So imagine that almost every day of the month is PMS. AM, PM, PMS. Did you know that hormones are the only drug in the world that a man does not do, but still suffers from the side effects? So we went through 6 cycles of IVF in a year, and in each cycle, the 1 or 2 embryos that were created in the lab is returned to the womb, and then there is a 2 weeks waiting period before we can get a result from the hospital. They call us with the good or the bad news. Now, 2 weeks is a long time. And this, I think, was the hardest part. The waiting. It's a mental challenge because you're trying not to think of it and keep yourself busy, and then one day you have a good feeling about it, but you're afraid to be disappointed again. And then there's nothing you can do. There is no possible way you can influence the result anymore. It's just like the lottery. We fill in the form, and then we wait for the numbers to be called, right? Until then, we just fantasize about our lives after we win. All you need is $1 and a dream. So one day, during one of those waiting periods, my wife wanted to make sunny-side eggs for breakfast. So she broke an egg into the frying pan, and it had 2 yolks. Is this a sign? We asked ourselves. Just a coincidence? The next egg also had 2 yolks, and so did the next. Twins? Are we up for that? Well, after all, 6 eggs don't lie. I mean, we fantasized so much during those waiting periods. I mean, will it be a boy or a girl? What would they look like? What would we name them? Each time we got a negative result, we were devastated. Maybe it will never happen. It was like a boxing match with too many rounds, and we had to pick ourselves up after each knockout, raise our heads up with renewed patience and faith in the process. On the other hand, IVF provided us with some rare and extraordinary experiences, really. Before the fertilized ovule was returned to my wife's womb, we were able to see it enlarged on a monitor screen, just moments before it was reinserted. Not many people enjoy such a privilege. Thus, we got a glimpse of this wondrous and thank you. Wondrous metamorphosis between a 6 cells embryo and this golden angel. So what I really want to say is this. Firstly, don't take life too seriously. Huh? And secondly, this long journey has been well worth it because at the end of it, we were blessed with 2 amazing daughters, Noga and Mia, who was born 5 months ago after 13 cycles of IVF over 18-month period. And when they come one day and ask me, Dad, how did we come into this world? I will be able to show them this talk, which is the real reason why I came here today. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.